Welcome to another episode of In the Studio with Calamity Jane. My name is Jody, also known as Calamity Jane. Our purpose with this series is to find women doing amazing things in our community and give them the spotlight for a moment. Joining me today is April Clyde with the Serenity Birth Center. Welcome to the show, April.
Thanks for having me, Jody.
Tell us a little bit about the Serenity Birth Center.
So I was first introduced to the concept of a birth center when I was in graduate school, and I immediately fell in love with the idea and ended up writing a paper in grad school about a birth center in Las Vegas. At the time, that's what got me researching the laws and realized I couldn't open a birth center as the laws, the way law was written then, that they could only be physician owned. And so the law changed in 2012 that nurse practitioners no longer needed a supervising physician. That opened the door for laws to be changed for the birth center, for birth center laws. And in just last year, that law changed, and so now nurse midwives are able to own birth centers in Nevada.
So how did you come to get started in midwifery?
Probably I first fell in love with babies and pregnancy. I'm the second oldest of 5 kids. And I was always fascinated. And both my parents have lots of siblings, so I grew up with, seeing pregnant aunts and cousins. And I just really was, from the time I was a child, very interested in pregnancy and birth. Probably really what sparked it is when my youngest sister was born. I was not only fascinated with the pregnancy and the birth, but her as a newborn. And so really I think that was the first time I remember thinking, this is something I love enough that I might want to do it for a living. And really what projected me into was I was volunteering at the hospital. I was doing an undergrad. I was planning on going to pharmacy school, and my dad's a pharmacist, and thank heavens I worked in a pharmacy before going to pharmacy school, and realized I didn't really like it, and started volunteering at the hospital because I had tons of science credits, but then really didn't like anything at the hospital, and happened to just run into my OBGYN. I'm sure he had no idea who I was. I was 19, but I said, "Hi, Dr. Jones, it's me, April," and he was in a rush to get to a delivery, and so I'm just chatting him up and walking with him, and we get to the elevator, and he said, "Well, do you want to come up? Do you want to?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I want to." Anyway, and I don't know, and it was very different than the kind of births I attend now as a midwife, but it was a very medicated, typical hospital birth, but I loved it. There was some, magic in the room that I knew I had to be a part of. So that's what I immediately changed my major to nursing, and I have my bachelor's degree from UNLV in nursing. Right after nursing school, I started at Sunrise Hospital here in town as a labor and delivery nurse. And the births I was drawn to, what I found the most interesting was women that got to the hospital at 8, 9, and 10 centimeters dilated and had a baby within 30 minutes or an hour of being there. I found it fascinating. Even I was, in my early 20s, but I found it really interesting. Why did some women do that? And then why did, others choose to have inductions or scheduled C-sections? I just found it really interesting. And so in talking to these women that got to the hospital at 8, 9, and 10 centimeters, they often had similar things in common, that they had hired a doula or taken a childbirth class. So it got me interested in, I think, an unmedicated birth. So I started to go to every conference, every workshop, every book I could get my hands on about natural childbirth, and really came to the conclusion that in the United States, we have a system that really serves high-risk pregnancies. If you have a high-risk pregnancy, undoubtedly this is the country you want to have your baby in. I really came to the conclusion that for healthy, low-risk pregnancies, there's a lot of room for improvement in the United States. So that got me, I think, interested in midwifery, but I knew I'd have to go back to school, and I'm not. I know some people love going to. I am not. I'm someone that did all of the years of college because it was a means to an end. That it's what I wanted. It was my ticket into entry for what I wanted to do for a living. So really what it was, the catalyst that really pushed me, I had a good friend invite me to her home birth. I thought she was crazy. This was my first, I was years before I was going to become a mother myself, but I really did. I thought, why would anyone want to do that? It took me going to her home birth to appreciate a completely different that her birth was from any other birth that I'd ever seen. And at that point, I'd seen hundreds of births as a labor and delivery nurse. I remember being moved to the point of tears. Her baby was in her arms, and baby was about 45 minutes old. I was taking pictures for her and her husband at the birth. I'd never seen baby in their mom's arms at 45 minutes old, ever. And I'd seen at that point hundreds of births. And I just remember leaving the birth thinking, everybody deserves the opportunity for this. And anyway, it moved me to the point that I started looking into grad schools. We don't have any nurse midwife programs here in Nevada. So that led me to go out of state. And it's in part why we have so few nurse midwives in Nevada. So I went out of state. I was away for about 2.5 years. I came back, and most of my experience when I was in grad school were at birth centers and out of hospital practices. So when I came back, my intention was to open a birth center. Again, it didn't take very long of going down that road. Our laws just were not such that it was going to happen. I was hoping that I would be able to find a physician that would own it, and just it's not usually part of their residency or doing out of hospital births. So for most obstetricians, it's very foreign. So instead of doing that, I had an OB-GYN that I'd worked with when I was a labor and delivery nurse that was opening a practice in Henderson. And so I was midwife out of the St. Rose hospitals from 2004 to 2008. It was an excellent experience in that I was able to introduce water birth to the hospital. We got birthing stools for all the rooms, and we helped decrease the cesarean section rate at the hospital. We did also a lot of education with the nurses. Most of the nurses that I worked with there had never seen a birth happen in any position other than a mom on her back with her legs up in stirrups. And so we really were able to really affect a lot of change. What started to happen in 2006, I started to have couples back pregnant with their second baby that said, we really want you to be our midwife again. We don't want another hospital birth. And so that's where my home birth practice was born from, is I would tell clients, okay, well, I'll attend your home birth. I know you, but I have a busy hospital practice. And so I just started attending more and more home births. It didn't take very long that I started to become increasingly frustrated with hospital policy and procedure. That especially when I would have clients back, pregnant with a second baby, and they'd had a previous unmedicated birth, they often were even more educated, more empowered, and would, not consent to things like having a routine IV or not being able to eat and drink in labor. And so it at times became contentious amongst the hospital staff and my clients. And so I decided in 2008 to make the switch to doing just exclusively home birth, and have done, or 2008. So in 2008 made that switch and have been doing exclusively home birth since then.
What do you feel makes you successful?
It's a good question. I think it's a lot of things. I am naturally just a very empathetic person. That caring, and I don't know if it's being a middle child. I don't know if it's, but I am. I think just a natural caregiver. It comes pretty effortlessly. I'm also thankfully. I was good in school, so doing all, having a bachelor's degree and having a master's degree, I was, able to get through that, that coursework and that, because it's certainly graduate school was rigorous. So there's that. And I think being able to work with lots of different, one of the things I love about home birth is, I often get asked especially by people that don't home birth and, find it fascinating. Like, what are your clients like? And it runs the gamut. I have UNLV professors, physicians, attorneys, to 19-year-old young women that read a book about home birth or midwifery and are drawn to it because of that. So it really runs the gamut. And I think being able to work with people, all different kinds of people, and know that really everybody has the same goal. They just want a safe, empowering birth that they're a decision maker in.
What piece of advice would you give a new entrepreneur just starting out?
Piece of advice. There's so many. It's really doing what you feel passionate about, is making sure that you're clear that what you're doing is aligned with who you are. There's a lot of things about owning your own business that are challenging, frustrating at times, but you have to have a big why. So why you're doing it has to be in your heart. It can't be because you think you're going to make a good living doing it. It can't be because it has to be because you feel, strongly driven by it. Thankfully, I feel called to what I do, and it makes the getting up at 3 a.m. to catch babies, which I like doing that. That part is actually not at all a chore. But the other parts about owning a business, the accounting and that I don't think anybody really enjoys, it makes it tolerable and even I think fun at times because you're hopefully creating a greater good.
What is your favorite word?
My favorite word, I think serenity. I don't know. I know that sounds, but it's a word that has, come through like just in journal writing. And I was talking to someone I had gone to grad school with, and she was saying, oh, well, that's the name you put in your paper. I had no idea that was the name I had put in my paper. And we had already applied for our business licenses there. That was 16 years ago. Yeah. And so I like the sound. I think too, my daughter's name is Sequoia, and I don't know, I must like that SE sound.
What is your least favorite word?
Grimace. I don't know. That's what's coming to mind. Grimace. I don't know. That's it. I can't come up with a good why.
What turns you on creatively, emotionally, or spiritually?
I love and have always loved women. I find them interesting and exceptionally powerful and often lacking in the knowledge that they have that power. So I always say if I was in the business of just getting babies out of moms' bodies, I wouldn't be very interested in it. I wouldn't. What I'm really interested in and why I keep doing this work is I'm in the business of birthing mothers. Strong, confident, powerful mothers.
What turns you off?
I think that being told women what is, I think, viewed as a paternalistic medical system or paternalistic society maybe is women being told they can't. I'm someone that says tell a woman she can't, especially an empowered woman, and I don't know, I feel like it's as good as done. So, yeah.
What is your favorite curse word?
Oh, my favorite curse word. I think it has to be fuck.
What sound or noise do you love?
This is pigs when they're little baby piglets when they're rooting to nurse. I love it.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Sound or noise. This is going to maybe very cliche. Fingernails down a chalkboard. That high pitched. Yeah.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
That's a good question. I've been this political process of getting laws changed and I really think it's interesting, this idea of being a city planner or a councilwoman, where you're taking very diverse desires sometimes, and creating a plan. I find it interesting, and that it takes I think a real exceptional person to be good at it.
What profession would you not like to do?
The one I didn't do, being a pharmacist, was that's definitely not, although healthcare and although not, I need way more people interaction than generally what that supplies.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Job well done.
Thanks for being on the show today, April.
Thanks for having me, Jody.
And thank you for watching. Join us for the next episode of In the Studio with Calamity Jane, where we put another amazing woman from Las Vegas in the spotlight. I'd like to give an extra shout out to Gigi from Gigi's Rock and Jewels, who gave me these beautiful accessories to wear. And subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and catch all the other episodes on our website at calamityjane.photography.